Hi everyone, I am Siu Tianzhen and my matric number is 303960. I am very pleased that I have chance to present my individual study, which entitled A Study of Tension Holding Limited in China, Performance and Irrelevance from 2014 to 2023. In this presentation, I will explain how both internal and external factors have influenced tension financial performance over the past 10 years. Specifically, I focus on liquidity, which I measure using the current ratio. Let's begin by understanding Tension as a company. Tension Holding Limited is a technology and internet company that founded in 1998 and is headquartered in Shenzhen, China. It became popular through its first product, which is a messaging app named QQ, and later expanded by launching WeChat in 2011. WeChat today is not just a messaging app, it also supports social media and mobile payment with more than 1 billion users. Tension is also a leader in the global gaming industry, with famous games like Honor of Kings and PUBG. Apart from gaming and communication, the company is involved in artificial intelligence, cloud computing, fintech, and digital content. Its mission is value for user, tech for good, and its vision is to be the most respected internet company. Now, I want to share about the corporate governance problem that faced by Tension from 2014 to 2023. In 2014, Tension was involved in an antitrust lawsuit against Qihoo 360, where its market dominance was questioned. Then, in 2021, a merge plan between Huya and Douyu, two live streaming platforms under Tension, was blocked by China authority due to monopoly concern. In 2017, one of its subsidiaries, China Literature, failed to properly disclose shareholding by director, which raised concern about transparency. More recently, between 2022 and 2023, more than 100 employees were dismissed due to fraud and corruption. This event highlights weakness in Tension internal control, compliance, and corporate ethics. Then, this study was conducted with three main objectives. First, to determine internal factors that affected Tension performance. Second, to identify external factors that affected Tension performance. And third, to investigate internal and external factors that affected Tension performance. Based on this objective, I posed three research questions. Which internal factors affected the performance of Tension and how have they affected it? The second is, which external factors affected the performance of Tension and how have they affected it? And finally, which internal and external factors affected the performance of Tension and how have they affected it? After that, this slide is about literature review. From the slide, you can see the formal meaning of each literature review, and then I will explain them in general form. First, corporate governance is about having systems and rules that ensure transparency and accountability in a company. Second, performance in this study is represented by liquidity, especially the current ratio, which measures whether a company can pay off its short-term debt. Third, profitability risk refers to the possibility that the company might not maintain stable earnings. And then, credit risk related to whether customers can pay their debt. After that, operational risk is about internal problems like poor system and process. The last is market risk, come from outside factors like inflation and exchange rate. These 6 areas help us understand what might influence a company's liquidity. In this part, I will explain the methodology that I used in this study. First is the sampling technique. I used tension financial data from the year 2014 to 2023, which was collected from their official annual report. And then I calculate important financial indicators such as return on asset, return on equity, debt to equity, and average collection period by using Excel. After that, I used SPSS software to analyze the data using regression. I built 3 models, which are one using internal factors only, another using external factor, and the last one is combine both of the factors. The goal was to see which group of variables explain tension liquidity performance more effectively. From the descriptive statistic, I found that tension have a stable level of liquidity over the 10 years with a mean current ratio of 1.27 and a small standard deviation of 0.16. This means the company have enough current asset to cover its short-term liability. The tension profitability was also strong, where its return on asset was very high, although it was quite volatile. The average collection period of 28.8 days means that the company collect the payment from customer quickly. When looking at correlation, the results showed that some macroeconomic factors like GDP growth and domestic demand have a positive relationship with tension liquidity. However, internal factors such as receivable turnover and debt level show stronger and more consistent link. In short, this means internal management matter more when it comes to liquidity. Now, we look at the model summary output in SPSS, which include the value of R, R-squared, adjusted R-squared, and standard error. The most important value here is R-squared, which tells us how much of the change in liquidity are explained by the variable in the model. For the internal model, the R-squared was 0.945, means that 94.5% of the change in tension liquidity can be explained by internal factor. This is a very strong result. And for the external model have R-squared of 0.779, meaning that only 77.9% was explained by external variable, which is weaker result. The combined model had R-squared of 0.898, but its adjusted R-squared was lower, this suggesting possible overfitting. Overfitting happens when a model includes too many unnecessary variables that don't add real value. All these 3 models have Durbin-Watson value close to 2, which means there was no autocorrelation and the model results are stable. Based on this, we can conclude that the internal model is the best and more reliable. Next, we look at the ANOVA table to test whether each regression model is statistically significant or not. We check this by looking at the F value and the P value. If the P value is less than 0.05, the model is considered statistically significant. For the internal model, the P value was 0.013, which less than 0.05, so the model is statistically significant. This means the group of internal variables, including the profitability and receivable, are meaningful in predicting tension liquidity. However, for the external model, the p-value was 0.343, which greater than 0.05, which means it is not statistically significant. The combined model also have a p-value of 0.314, which is greater than the 0.05, so it also does not show a strong statistical impact overall. These results support the earlier model summary that tension liquidity is most driven by internal factor, not by the macroeconomic factor. Last but not least, now we look at the coefficient table. The coefficient table helps us to understand the effect of each individual variable on the current ratio and whether that effect is significant. We use the p-value for each variable to decide this. If the p-value is less than 0.05, we say the variable is statistically significant. If it is less than 0.01, we call it highly significant. If it is between 0.05 and 0.1, we call it marginally significant. If the value is more than 0.1, we call it not significant. For the internal model, return on asset and debt to equity ratio were statistically significant. This meaning they had a real and measurable effect on liquidity. The average collection period was marginally significant, which suggests that faster receivable collection helps improve liquidity. The corporate governance index was not significant, which may be because tension already maintained a moderate level of governance, so change in that index don't have a big impact. In the external model, the most variable like inflation and exchange rate was not significant. In the combined model, only the average collection period remained marginally significant. This reinforces that internal factors are more important than external factors in explaining tension liquidity performance. In the conclusion, the study found that the tension liquidity from the year 2014 to 2023 was more strongly influenced by the internal factor than the external factor. Profitability, capital structure, and receivable management play key role, while macroeconomic factors like inflation and GDP had less impact. Based on this result, I recommend that tension should continue to improve its working capital management, especially in speeding up receivable collection. It should also reduce its reliance on debt, even though its return on equity is high. This is to avoid the risk during market uncertainty. In addition, tension should strengthen its internal control and compliance by offering regular ending training and enforcing strong financial discipline. Although external factors had less impact, the company should still use currency hedging strategy to reduce risk from foreign exchange fluctuation. That's all from me. Thanks for listening my presentation. Bye bye.